Okay. So have you ever felt that, like, that feeling of being overwhelmed?
Yeah.
You know, like drowning in to-dos.
Yeah.
You're trying to, like, squeeze every last drop out of your day, but still feel like you're not making time for the things that really matter.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
We're going to dive into Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. And we're going to uncover, like, a fresh perspective on that exact thing.
It's interesting how Brookman, he kind of flips the script on, all that traditional productivity advice.
Yeah.
Instead of pushing for more efficiency, he suggests that, like our modern obsession with time mastery might actually be the root of the problem.
Yeah.
It's what's leaving us stressed and, ultimately less fulfilled.
Right from the start, Burkeman hits hard.
Yeah.
Saying that, the real issue isn't our limited time.
Right.
But it's, like, our mindset around it.
Mm-hmm.
He compares trying to master time to trying to lasso the future.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of an impossible feat.
Yeah.
And speaking of impossible feats, in Chapter 2, he dives into the efficiency trap.
Ah, yeah.
This is where we see Parkinson's law in action.
Yeah.
Work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
It's so true.
You finally, clear your to-do list.
Right.
And instantly,
stuff pops up.
new tasks pop up, feeling just as urgent.
Exactly.
It feels like a never-ending cycle.
It is.
So how do we break free?
Well, Burkeman introduces this idea of what he calls creative neglect.
Okay.
And it's about consciously choosing what to prioritize and intentionally neglecting the rest.
Okay.
It's not about doing everything. It's about making really deliberate choices about where your time and energy go.
Okay, so how do you decide what to let go of when everything, feels important?
Yeah.
I'm already feeling overwhelmed just thinking about it.
Well, one of his suggestions is to pay yourself first with time. So you actually schedule your most important activities into your week before anything else can fill up that space.
Right.
And that might mean having to say no to things that seem important,
Yeah.
but don't truly align with your priorities.
That reminds me of the story that Burkeman shares about Warren Buffett,
Oh, yeah.
advising a pilot to only focus on his top 5 goals
Yeah.
and actively avoid the other 20.
Wow.
It's like saying, don't try to boil the ocean.
Exactly. Spreading yourself too thin means you'll never make significant progress on what truly matters.
Right.
And this connects to Chapter 3, where Burkeman gets real about our finite time.
Yeah, this is where he brings in the philosophy of Martin Heidegger,
Yes.
who believed that confronting our mortality is essential for living an authentic life.
Right. And it's not about being morbid,
Right.
but rather realizing that, we have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
This realization can actually make each moment more valuable because we understand we can't do everything.
That's a really empowering way to look at it.
Yeah.
So if we shift our perspective to embrace our limitations, does that change how we think about procrastination?
Absolutely. In Chapter 4, Burkeman argues that procrastination can be beneficial if we procrastinate on the right things.
Hold on. Are you saying procrastination is a good thing? I feel like I've been fighting against it my whole life.
The real skill isn't avoiding procrastination altogether,
Right.
but choosing what to procrastinate on.
Okay.
So Burkeman highlights 3 principles for what he calls good procrastination.
Okay.
Paying yourself first, limiting your work in progress, and resisting those middling priorities,
Uh-huh.
the tasks that are somewhat tempting but not truly important.
So it's about being strategic
Yes,
with our procrastination.
exactly.
Letting the less important things slide
Yeah,
so we can focus on the things that really move the needle.
exactly.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah,
Time management isn't about fitting it all in,
right.
but being intentional with the time that we actually have.
Yes.
Okay.
And that leads us into one of the biggest challenges we face today.
Yeah.
The attention economy.
This is where Chapter 5, the watermelon problem, comes in.
Yeah.
Berkman describes how our digital world is designed to, hijack our attention,
Yes.
making us react rather than focusing on what we truly value.
It's very reactive.
Remember that viral video of the exploding watermelon?
Oh, yeah.
That's the attention economy at work.
It's a perfect example.
Even though we might, choose to watch something like that,
Yeah.
it just reveals how easily we can get pulled in by compelling but not necessarily meaningful content.
Totally. And we're constantly bombarded with information vying for our attention.
Yeah, so it's not just about external distractions, right?
Right.
Berkman dives deeper in Chapter 6, The Intimate Interrupter,
Yes.
suggesting that
Yeah.
we're often distracted by things that we are trying to avoid internally.
It's true. He tells a story about Steve Young, the former NFL quarterback,
Okay.
who trained as a monk.
Wow.
And Young was constantly seeking distractions, not just because of external noise,
Yeah.
but to avoid uncomfortable emotions
Okay.
and the limitations of the situation.
So we're not just distracted by things outside of ourselves, but also by our own internal anxieties.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
It is.
It also makes me wonder, though, if we're constantly fighting for control and avoiding discomfort,
Yeah.
can we ever truly be present in the moment?
That's the focus of Chapter 7, We Never Really Have Time, where Burkeman suggests that our obsession with planning and productivity might actually cause us to miss out on the present moment.
Wow.
He even shares this funny but very insightful rule called Hofstadter's Law.
Okay.
Any task will always take longer than you expect,
Oh, it's so true.
even when you take into account Hofstadter's Law.
That is so true.
Yeah.
It's like we think we can control time as if it's a possession,
Yeah.
but really we're always just in the present moment
Yeah.
with all its limitations and possibilities.
Exactly.
And, we're only scratching the surface of
Yeah.
Burkeman's insights.
Bernard.
There's so much more to uncover as we continue our deep dive.
There is.
So stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll be right back. It's funny. We often talk about feeling like we don't have time.
Right.
But as Burkeman points out,
Yeah.
we are time.
Yeah.
We exist in time.
We do.
And that's something we can't really escape.
Yeah, that's a profound sheen in thinking.
It is.
It makes me wonder if we embrace this idea
Yeah.
of being present in time.
Yeah.
How does that change our relationship with rest?
Mhm.
Because so often rest feels like this thing we have to earn,
Yeah.
like a reward for being productive enough.
Exactly. It's like we're programmed to feel guilty if we're not constantly doing.
Totally.
But Burkeman challenges that whole notion in Chapter 8, You Were Here.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He points out that historically people worked to not live to work.
Right.
This whole idea of needing to be constantly productive is a relatively new phenomenon
Yeah.
driven by modern capitalism.
It's so true. It's interesting. I recently read an article
Oh, yeah.
about how the concept of idleness has actually been demonized over time.
Wow.
Used to be associated with like contemplation and creativity,
Uh-huh.
but now it's seen as lazy or unproductive.
Yeah. Berkman talks about that too.
Does he really?
He calls it idleness aversion.
Oh, okay.
This deep discomfort we feel with simply doing nothing, like we've forgotten how to just be present.
Wow. And that brings us to Chapter 9,
Yeah.
where Burkeman offers this like powerful antidote,
Yes.
rediscovering the art of rest.
That's right.
He suggests we need to relearn how to rest for the sake of rest,
Yes.
without the guilt or the need to like justify it with productivity.
You know what it makes me think about is the Jewish Sabbath.
Oh, yeah.
It's a designated time for rest,
Right.
for disconnecting from work,
Yeah.
for connecting with family and community and spirituality.
That's such a beautiful example of how structured rest can actually be a source of like joy and renewal.
Yeah.
It reminds us that our worth isn't tied to how much we produce.
It's true.
But speaking of challenges,
Yeah.
what about those unavoidable moments when we're forced to wait?
Right.
Like being stuck in traffic
Yeah.
or waiting in line at the grocery store.
Yes.
How do we deal with the impatience that inevitably arises?
Well, that's where Chapter 10 comes in, the impatience spiral.
Okay.
Berkman brilliantly unpacks the psychology of impatience
Yeah.
and shows how it just makes things worse.
It's so true.
It is.
Think about those times you're stuck in traffic honking your horn.
Yeah.
Does it actually make the cars in front of you move any faster?
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah.
It just makes everyone more stressed and agitated.
Exactly. It's like we think we can force reality to move at our pace,
Yeah.
but it never works, and we just
Right.
end up frustrated.
Right.
So Berkman suggests that the key is to surrender to the reality, that things take the time they take.
So instead of fighting against the current,
Yeah.
we learn to ride the waves.
You got it.
That makes me think of patience not as this like passive waiting game, but as an active engagement
Yes.
with the present moment.
You're getting it. He calls this radical incrementalism.
Okay.
This idea that small, consistent efforts
Yeah.
are often more powerful than sporadic bursts of energy.
Yeah, it's like that famous quote, the journey of 1,000 miles
Yeah.
begins with a single step.
Yes.
We don't need to see massive results overnight.
Right.
It's about staying focused on the journey,
That's it.
even when progress seems slow.
Yeah.
I love that.
He uses this great metaphor of staying on the bus in Chapter 11. He talks about how the bus routes in Helsinki
Okay.
are designed to be long and winding.
Okay, yeah.
So you're never too far from a stop.
Yeah.
no matter where you are in the city.
It's like he's saying, trust the journey, trust that the right path will emerge if you just keep showing up.
Exactly.
It's about resisting that urge to, like, jump ship at the first sign of boredom or difficulty.
Yeah, and originality doesn't come from trying to be unique
Right.
or groundbreaking right away.
Yeah.
It's about patiently exploring ideas, even when they seem unoriginal at first, and trusting that something meaningful will eventually emerge.
I love that.
Yeah.
But there's another aspect of time that we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, yes.
The social dimension.
Yes. You're talking about Chapter 12, the loneliness of the digital nomad.
Yes. Burkeman points out that our obsession with individual productivity
Yes.
can actually lead to isolation.
It's like this paradox.
Yeah.
Where our pursuit of control over our time can actually make us lonelier and less connected.
Right.
He contrasts this traditional nomad
Right.
who's deeply connected to community and group survival
Yeah.
with this modern digital nomad
Yeah.
who's often solitary
Right.
despite their constant movement.
It's fascinating because many of the things we do to, like, gain control over our time, like working remotely or
Yeah.
having flexible schedules,
Right.
can actually make it harder to connect with others
Yeah.
because everyone's on their own individual timetable.
Exactly.
So those shared experiences
Yeah.
become more difficult to find.
Berkman's point is that true freedom
Yeah.
isn't just about individual autonomy.
Right.
It's about having the space for meaningful relationships
Yeah.
and shared experiences.
Hmm.
Sometimes our time can be too much our own.
So we've talked about the importance of rest,
Yeah.
the power of patience, the social dimension of time.
Yes.
But I have a feeling Burkeman has one more big idea up his sleeve.
He does, and it might be the most mind-bending concept yet.
Okay.
Get ready for cosmic insignificance therapy.
All right. I'm ready for this cosmic insignificance therapy.
Okay.
It sounds a bit intimidating, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it is a thought-provoking concept.
Okay.
In Chapter 13,
Yeah.
Burkeman argues that realizing how small we are in the grand scheme of things
Yeah.
can be incredibly freeing.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Like, how can feeling insignificant be a good thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit, well, depressing?
Yeah, it might seem counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but think about it this way. Okay.
So much of our anxiety comes from this pressure to be significant,
Right.
to leave a lasting mark on the world,
Yeah.
to achieve some grand legacy.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's like we're constantly trying to prove our worth.
Right.
Not just to ourselves,
Yeah.
but to the universe itself.
Exactly. And Burkeman suggests that this striving for cosmic significance is a recipe for stress and disappointment
Yeah.
because the reality is the universe, in its vastness and indifference,
Right.
doesn't really care about our achievements or anxieties.
It doesn't.
So you're saying that embracing our cosmic insignificance can actually be a relief.
Precisely. It takes the pressure off.
Okay.
If the universe isn't keeping score,
Yeah.
then we're free to define our own meaning and purpose.
Okay.
We can focus on what truly matters to us,
Yeah.
the things that bring us joy and fulfillment,
Yeah.
without the burden of trying to be important
Right.
in some grand cosmic scheme.
Yeah.
It's like he's giving us permission to just be ourselves
Right.
without the weight of the world on our shoulders.
He uses this great analogy of a chair.
Okay.
You know, we wouldn't judge a chair for not being able to boil water right.
Right.
So why judge ourselves for not living up to some arbitrary standard of importance?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this leads us to the final chapter, the human disease. What is the disease that Burkeman is referring to?
Well, he argues that our struggle with time management
Yeah.
is really a symptom of a deeper human tendency, the desire to control,
Right.
to master,
Yeah.
to avoid vulnerability.
Yeah, it's like we're constantly trying to force life to fit into a neat little box.
Yeah.
But it always spills over the edges.
It does, and he reminds us that we don't have time.
Right.
We are time. We're finite beings.
Right.
Our lives are inherently uncertain and vulnerable.
But that's not something to fear.
No, it's not.
It's simply the reality of being human.
Yes, there's a quote from Alan Watts that Burkeman includes.
Oh, yeah.
Time is the substance I am made of.
Wow.
Time is a river that sweeps me along, but I am the river.
It's so powerful.
It perfectly captures Burkeman's message.
Yeah.
Let go of the illusion of control.
Yeah.
Stop fighting against the current of time.
Right.
And just be present in the flow of your life.
It's a profound shift in perspective.
It is.
And it brings us back to that initial question, like, how do we live a meaningful life when we know we can't do it all?
Yeah, Burkeman's answer is this Embrace the provisional life.
Okay.
Accept the limitations of time.
Right?
Let go of the need for control.
Yeah.
Focus on being present for what truly matters.
Yeah.
Even if it means letting go of the need to do it all.
It's about finding joy in the journey,
Yeah.
in the small moments, and the
Yeah.
connections we make along the way.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our lives, in all their imperfection and vulnerability,
Yeah.
are already enough.
So what does this all mean for you, dear listener? What if, instead of trying to master time, you focused on simply being present for what matters most?
What if you embraced the beauty of the present moment, the joy of connection, and the freedom that comes from knowing you don't have to be extraordinary to live a meaningful life?
That's something to ponder as you move through your week
Yes.
and through your own 4,000 weeks.
And that's a wrap
Yeah.
on our deep dive into Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you found some valuable insights along the way.
Until next time, be present, be patient, and be kind to yourself.
See you later.